Hey, this is Diana, the Midnight Rose. Just as I said in the last video, I would be coming back on Fridays to do a weekend ahead video. So I have done my LBRP to clear the space and just settle things down. So here we go. And as I also mentioned in that video, I do a round card because these round cards, they're not just upright or reversed, which I don't really believe in those anyway, because each card holds the potential for both. But these specifically point to different houses. So I incorporate astrology into my round card reading. These are awkward. And it's awkward to shuffle anyway when you have itty bitty tiny hands. But I do my cutting technique because I have such itty bitty hands. So breathe. Let's get the overall card for this weekend and being very careful not to switch the position of it. I think this is going to point to the ninth house. All right, and I'm also going to do three regular tarot cards for clarification. This keeps raising lower hand. Okay. All right, and the same thing with this. I have little tiny fingers. I need to start listing my decks in the description because I know I'm someone who always likes to know what deck's being used when I see one that I like in particular. And this is is it called, I think, Mystical Moments. There's a tarot and an oracle. This is the tarot. I do have the oracle too. I think it's here, or it might still be in transition from States to Albania. I'm in limbo. I'm in a very liminal space. Okay, three cards from the tarot for clarification. One, two, three. I did see that card shifted a little when I touched it. It went a little bit that way, but I don't think it's going to make any difference to the house that it's pointing to. All right, first of all, being very careful to turn this over just in the position that it is. This kind of follows the Monday card, or cards. The Four of Swords came up in the Monday reading, and that implies rest. We're recuperating from some kind of hardship, some kind of difficulty. But this time, instead of pointing to the 10th house, we're pointing to the ninth house, which is more spirituality, learning, long distance travel. Think, when we have astrology, they're in pairs, third and ninth house. Third house is local, ninth house is big picture, the spiritual matters. So the long distance travel, it's the big picture. And this is where we're needing to do some rest here. That is the initial reading. Some kind of recuperation where you're licking your wounds, quite literally. Okay, but let's see what these cards hold. Ooh, Three of Swords. Ouch. Not the most fun card. The Hermit. Wow. These are really resonating with this. And the Moon. Wow. Okay. Well, this reading makes a lot of sense to me. You're recovering from, it could be something physically, literally. People, when people see the Three of Swords, they think of a three a three-person entanglement romantically when there's a third person interfering in the relationship. But when we have this card that's pointing to the ninth house, we're looking at more spiritually here. Maybe there's some confusion about what direction you should go, where your life should take you from a spiritual perspective. I don't see romance as a concern for this weekend. I know people normally think of the weekend, let's get a hookup, and that's kind of, because today, Friday, is also Venus Day. It's Friday, I'm in love. It's Friday, I'm not in love. You know what? Let me take that back. It's Friday, I'm figuring out how to love me, the spiritual thing. So there has been some kind of great wound in your recent past. And by the way, I should always use the disclaimer that if this resonates with you, if this appears in your algorithm, your timeline, it may speak to you. But if it doesn't seem to fit, disregard it for a different reading. Not every reading is for everyone, for I think obvious reasons. But this is for someone or people who have recently experienced a great wounding spiritually, maybe romantically too, but definitely spiritually. And this is the time to rest and regather and figure out what the heck is going on. It's this card here. So, the Hermit. Yeah. You're probably not going to feel the urge to go out and go to the club and do some wild partying and drinking and picking up whoever you're interested in. You need to withdraw from the world a little bit. And we all need to do this at times. So, the Hermit does imply that. You need to probably kind of stay in and think about things. And the moon, there is a spiritual aspect to the moon. We all know this. And feeling moody and feeling emotional. So let me tell you what's going on astrologically right now. From an astrological standpoint, we've got Mars and Venus have been Cazimi, right directly with the sun, really strong, and they're being reborn. So everybody is, to some extent, is feeling this transformation. Some will feel it more, especially if they have one of their placements in those areas, whether it be the sun or the moon or their rising sign. And if you don't know how to calculate those, there are free things you can go to online. I also actually offer to do birth charts, like beautiful custom birth charts that are a piece of art as well as your chart. So, or you can do it online with a free thing. It's up to you. If you don't know the exact placements of all your planets in your chart. When people talk about how, oh, I'm an Aries, I'm a Taurus, they're talking about sun sign. That is only one aspect of astrology. And it's important, but there are so many other factors. So if your sun, moon, or rising sign is Mars or Venus, you're going to certainly feel this. Or the sun, because they're coming into direct contact, or have been the last few days. And by the way, your rising sign, you have to know the exact time of your birth. So if you don't know that, we can guess. And what we usually do is we usually start with noon on your birthday and start trying to figure out, what is likely your rising sign. The sun sign is what you show to people, what's forward. The moon sign is what you feel privately. And the rising sign is kind of what you really are. It's the most authentic sign. And many astrologers will actually tell you that when you are listening to forecasts by sign or whatever, you should go by your rising sign, not your sun sign. The rising sign is the most authentic. So, astrologically, that is what's going on. Very big. And especially, I know I've felt it because these are my three power planets. I have most of my chart is shit. I'll say that right out. But the only good things I have are an exalted Venus, an exalted Sun, and Mars and domicile. So these are my three power planets. You can bet I was doing some magical workings in the last few days. How well they turn out, I'm still learning that aspect. But this would be a good time to, this has been a good time to worship or prayer to Venus or Mars. Now, as they come out of their cazimi, they get weakened again. The sun overpowers them. It's just when you're within 1 degree, some people say 17 minutes, but 1 degree of that sun that we consider cazimi, and it's a super power moment when that planet dies and it is reborn. So we're starting to go into them being what we call combust again. They're not within 1 degree, the sun overpowers them. So, and the moon, we recently had a full moon, so it's in its waning phase. Life cycles like this. We have our strong moments and we have our weak moments. And we have our moments where we need to recover after we've had a lot of turmoil. And of course, we have just had a lot of turmoil on a global scale. Some Mars violence against Venus, women, a woman. I think we're all feeling that distress. This could be the Three of Swords, the way our heart is broken, looking at things that are going on in the world, and particularly in my home country of the United States and everywhere. It's just, we need to step back. We need to shut off social media. We need to shut off YouTube for a bit. And I need to follow that advice as much as anyone. I am a YouTube junkie. We need to step back and focus on the spiritual things and recovery, nurturing our psyche, our spirit. These are the things we need to focus on this weekend. And for the weekend, obviously, that's short time period. So I think that is the most acute need that's coming through in this reading. What in the world is that? Oh, Sagittarius. Okay. And the 11th. Oh, Mercury. Well, we're wanting to communicate quite a bit and really throw those arrows out there. Throw those arrows out there. But I don't think that's constructive here. I think this is actually not telling us we need to do this. This is warning us. It's tempting to be angry and throw out a lot of harsh words right now. That is exactly what we should not be doing. That's what this is telling me. We need time to recover from things on a global scale and personally after this week. We have probably gone through a tough week because if you remember the reading on Monday, we were talking about work and the anxiety over work and going back to work after the holidays. This has been a rough week. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I'm not going to say, oh, positive things. It was tough. Why does my hand keep going up? Jesus. Ay. Anyway, this has been a tough week overall. Not just the week. We've got to recover. So take this weekend. Let me do one card for the action to take to recover. What to do. Well, how do we recover from this tough week and weekend? Movement. 8 of Wands. Get out and do something. This is also advice to me. I do tend to be a hermit. And I have been going through a hermit phase, certainly, which is, you would think that moving to a new country, I would be out and about and do all kinds of things, despite my mobility limitations, which have been a big theme this week, and not in a good way. But we all need to get out and move, not just move physically, but take action. Now, we are in a recovery phase, but that doesn't mean that we can't still take action. We can nurture ourselves. We can read. We can write. We can do things that I always talk about refilling the well when it comes to writing. At certain points in your life, this is how cycles go of creativity. You feel empty. This is a weekend to refill the well. Read something inspirational. Create some art. Do something that feeds your soul. Feeds your soul, your spirit, your psyche, the 9th house. So, I'm just laughing because, yeah, I need to be moving more physically. And that's the Sagittarius implies to me movement, coming outside, going outside yourself. It's very kind of 9th house kind of sign. And communication, your Mercury, kind of implies that somebody or several people may be writing. I don't know if that's just because I'm writing obsessed, but that is what Mercury implies. So the interesting thing about writing is you will often find the answers you need. You sit down to write and you don't feel the answer, but as you write, it brings clarity. It brings the solutions. So some journaling may be in order. Maybe you're not an official writer, but journaling is really going to help move things forward, give you some clarity, a purpose, and spiritual direction. So that is your forecast for the weekend. And I will be back on Monday. I am committed to doing this shit. I often have technical problems. You should see my camera. You should see the way it's taped up. Oh God, so ridiculous. But I am committed to doing this for myself and for others, both. And in finding my spiritual direction, and doing these readings is key. Because there is often things that apply to me as well. Not necessarily everything. Sometimes it doesn't resonate. Sometimes it does. Movement does. Heartbreak does. I have been glued to YouTube and all the reporting on the tragedy in Minneapolis. But I also know this is not a healthy thing to do. To dwell and be stuck in an endless loop of this. We have to take action. Anytime there are things that are difficult in our life, we need to take some kind of action. We sometimes need to recuperate, and this is okay. It's essential, in fact. I'm feeling like I need to do one more card. What kind of action should that be? What's the nature of it? Seven of Pentacles, growing things. And this is very healing by growing things. But even in growing things, sometimes we have to pause a little bit. And the Seven of Pentacles implies that pause to stop and reevaluate. Yes, things are growing, but is there a way that we can make things better, shift focus, shift direction? And if you are familiar with the Rider-Waite-Smith tarot, it's like someone who is growing things but pause to think about what they're doing. And this reflects that also. So take some time this weekend to just set aside time in silence, no social media, no YouTube, and think about what direction you should take, possibly journal it. The answers are within you. You have the emotions, the answers. My hand just went up again. And just taking some time to yourself to deal with all the chaos, you will get some clarity. So no, I'm sorry, I can't tell you you're going to have a super fun, wild weekend at the club. You're not going to necessarily meet the man or woman of your dreams this weekend. But these are important things. All right. As I said, I will see you on Monday for the week ahead. Please subscribe, leave comments, tell me things you want to see. I've been thinking about doing a pick a card type reading. And also on Wednesdays when I get the deck, the Angel and Devil deck, I'm going to do the Angel and Devil readings. So, and those will be looking at long-term, bigger picture things rather than just the week ahead or the weekend ahead. So, if there's something you would like to see, put a comment. If there's something that resonates with you, put a comment. And I'll see you Monday. Thank you.